Welcome in College Football Tailgate. This is our college football preview, review, I don't even know what to call it. Review, preview, whatever you want to call it. It's College Football Tailgate. I'm Dan Watkins. He's John McKechnie. John, we're kind of like in this no man's land now, right, with the playoff where we got this little lull for Christmas week here. So first off, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you and yours. And secondly, we've had 48 hours to digest the first round matchups, and we still have over a week to really dig in and sink our teeth into the quarterfinal matchups here. But how are you feeling about the playoffs so far and what we just saw over the weekend?
Well, I think Friday's game and the early game Saturday were kind of the headliners, and they, for the most part, delivered. It wasn't a great game between Miami and Texas A&M. We'll get into that, but those were the two good ones, and you were, as we kind of hinted at on Thursday's show, you were certainly able to go out and see some family, do some Christmas shopping during the Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening window. You didn't miss a whole lot. It went about expected. I do feel bad for those with the Oregon ticket. That was a tough cover to get blown, but beyond that, not a ton of consequence, I think. I think Trinidad Chambliss is okay after a bit of a scare during that Ole Miss game against Tulane. But beyond that, all the gravity was doled out to those first two games.
Yeah, JMU with that backdoor cover, taking the show from 5-2 to 4-3, just like that. Tough, very tough there. But anyways, I do think that kind of leads into how I want to start the show here for this one. Have we reached our breaking point now with the G5 and the auto bid and the inclusion and making sure that we have G5 teams in the playoffs? Look, I fully understand there's legal consequences and ramifications, and that's why the rules are the way that they are. But I feel coming out of this weekend, John, that something needs to be done in this offseason. We have to rewrite these rules. And the weird, it's kind of entered this weird space here on Twitter that I've noticed that some people are really digging into this inclusion where it's, there's 136 teams. They're all vying for the same trophy, and they need to be included and have their seat at the table. And I just feel can we be honest with ourselves here? Let's look at this thing. All 136 teams are not vying for the same trophy. They are not vying for the same championship. UMass is not playing for the national championship, and they are not trying for a college football playoff berth like Alabama is or Georgia is. That is just silly to make that argument. And every single time we see one of these G5 teams in this playoff or in the college football playoffs, it ends up the same way. Just roadkill blowout where it's just a total waste of everybody's time, but we're doing it for the sake of inclusion. And I think we need to redraw some things up here and reclassify college football, because we can't keep doing this every single season where we got teams like Vanderbilt, Notre Dame, Texas even sitting at home on the couch that all would have put up much better matchups and much better fights this past weekend. And I see people pointing out, well, Tennessee got blown out by Ohio State last year, or Oregon got blown out by Ohio State last year, or TCU to Georgia in the national championship game. That's not the point. The point is that every single time we see a G5 team in the playoffs, it ends the same way. We now have a 4-game sample size of this. We got the 2 games this past week with Ole Miss doing whatever they wanted to Tulane, 41-10 the final there. Oregon could have put up 80 if they wanted to Saturday night on JMU. They called off the dogs, took their foot off the gas. 51-34 the final, JMU with the backdoor cover. Last year, Penn State rolls Boise 31-14. 2021, Alabama beats Cincinnati 27-6. It's not the same caliber of football. They're not playing the same level of football. And all that's standing in the way right now is those lawsuits and that legal action where they got to be able to find a way to work around that. I personally would love to see a G5 playoff. And I know people are saying, well, that's just blowing up the sport. Well, college football's kind of been turned on its head and blown up anyway. And we're just throwing all these traditions and these things out the window to begin with here. So why can't we reclassify the FBS, the FCS, D1, D2, D3, and so on? We're just tearing up everything these days. So I feel like we're heading more towards an NFL model where it's going to be 2 big conferences. Let's put some, relegation like the Premier League in there and something. We need to do something different than just automatically giving G5 teams a bid here because it just ends the same way every single time.
I mean, it's just frustrating because you have an expanded playoff now. You got 12 teams in. It's supposed to be the 12 best teams. The Tulane and James Madison just like aren't really even close, as we saw this past weekend. So they with the antitrust stuff, like you wish that there could be like some sort. Like there have been years where it's like Boise last year. It's like like that, but how do you quantify that? Like what level do they have to be at? Like do they have to be ranked at a certain spot, and then like you leave it up to human error to kind of like put their thumb on the scale? It's like, well, we're gonna leave them at 13, this time instead, or something like that. So it's a thorny issue, no question about it. But all like the major like G5 proponents. They point to aberrations as like the bedrock of their argument a lot of the time, right? Like the Boise State game against Oklahoma, like 20 plus years ago. You look at UCF in 2017 getting left out, or or Cincinnati got their seat at the table in the 4-teamer a couple of years ago, and I thought that they earned it, but we saw what it ultimately looks like. That just to draw the comparison to March Madness. You can have a guy like the dude from Oakland or from St. Peter's that can hit threes. You can't really like do that equivalent in football. Like the good teams, the power teams are just going to have bigger guys and more of them, and it's over from the trenches at that point, and then you're just not going to get a good game. So I'm just frustrated, like from a quality of the product perspective, that 2 games you could just in the playoff could be written off as just like, I can go do something else.
Yeah, and I mean, you saw the network do that too. ESPN basically just said to TNT, here you go. Here's the games that we're subsidizing to you. Like, take those. Go ahead. And, and by the way, you also got to put them up against the NFL too, which I'm sure everybody was more focused on that Bears-Packers game Saturday night than James Madison in Oregon in the college football playoff, which is sad because this is supposed to be the culmination of a great season and the 12 best teams, but as you hinted at, it's not. We have probably the 10 best teams, and then 2 teams that just automatically get their hand out to come in and play, and we see what happens. But yeah, to draw that point back to the basketball thing, football's not basketball. Don't try to make football basketball, because as you hinted at, you can put your hands on people in football, and the Power 4 schools are bigger, stronger, faster, and tougher too, probably, and they're going to just have their way with these G5 schools. So it's really sad to see. And like the transfer portal and all that too has I feel like has amplified this, where the G5 truthers and the G5 knights, if you want to call them, that have their pitchforks out for inclusion this week, like to throw out those Cinderella teams, as you were mentioning. Like those Cinderella stories, they don't happen anymore, because those teams get rated, and they can't build a team for 4 years running like that and have all these guys that are juniors and seniors, because they're going to get plucked. And if their coaches are any good, they're going to get plucked too. So it's just the world that we're living in right now. It doesn't make it possible. And I think something needs to be done. And I hope something gets done here in the off season as they rework this playoff and they sit down and try to figure this thing out going forward for 2026 and beyond.
Yeah, I think, Saturday, maybe the silver lining will be that there is some sort of rejiggering of things to make sure that we have a more serious product, especially in the first round. And I mean, it falls on deaf ears to me, like anyone that points to the blowouts. Like, we were having a hard time getting 2 good games out of the 4-team playoff, with the 4 best teams. Like, blowouts that's the thing that happens with college kids. It's the thing that happens in college football. Like, the dam breaks and stuff goes way sideways for one team, and it's I mean, Alabama got smoked by Clemson in a national championship game. Like, are we really doing a referendum on that? Like, just because we're trying to make sure that the Tulane has the seat at the table? And I think that you raise a good point, where it takes multiple years for a team to establish the respect to then jump up and to be like a real playoff team, like UCF in 2017. Like, they didn't get it because it was out of nowhere. So like 2018, Milton gets hurt and like it all falls apart on them. So you kind of need 2 years of sample for a 1 year thing, or like Cincinnati, like if they didn't have the good year where they played in the Peach Bowl in 2020, I don't think they get into the playoff in 2021 if it's just based on that. You know what I mean? So that's impossible now. Continuity does not exist in college football anymore. If you're a group of 5 team and you're good, expect your team to get rated, expect your coaching staff to get rated. So it's just a 1 year shot there, and we see what it looks like.
Yep. So, I mean, we can put a pin in that. I'm sure there's going to be plenty to talk about with that in the offseason and all that kind of stuff. Let's get to these games that just happened over this past weekend. But first, I want to say thank you very much for watching. We're College Football Tailgate. I'm Dan. He's John. Do us a favor. If you're watching, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, or if you're listening on podcasts, hit that follow button. You can find us on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify at College Football Tailgate on all 3 platforms. You can follow us on Twitter at CFB Tailgate 25, and you can also head over to TikTok for the real fun at CFB Tailgate and follow us over there. So thanks very much for watching, guys, as we continue with this little review preview thing here. That first game Friday night, John, Alabama 34, Oklahoma 24. I mean, a tale of 2 games, really, right? Like the first 19 minutes of this one, Oklahoma's up 17-0. They outgained Bama 181-12, and I'm sitting there going, holy crap. Wow. Okay, so Oklahoma has woken up. They've found some form of an offense here. And okay, maybe Indiana should be on alert here for the Sooners. And then the next 21 minutes happened. Alabama goes on a 27-0 run, outgaining the Sooners 194-59. The Alabama pass rush comes alive here in this game. They make John Mateer look horrible, horrendous, really. It was just gross. John Mateer, his throwing motion mechanics were all over the place. That pick 6 totally swung this game. But, John, my main takeaway for this one, as this game ended, I'm just going, are we about to do this? Is the run about? Is this the start of the run for Alabama? Now they're going to get an Indiana team that's a little banged up on the defensive line, go to the Rose Bowl, okay, Simpson might have found his groove a little bit. I don't think he had a great game by any means. It was just okay, if Alabama can now get to the passer and rush the quarterback, defense making plays, it's just I feel like we've seen this story before.
Yeah, I bet there are markets for making the national championship game. And obviously I gave out Texas Tech. But after watching Alabama, I also grabbed one on Bama to at least make it to the Natty. Maybe I'm just safeguarding myself, sort of like what you did with the Notre Dame. Well, if they're going to miss the playoffs, I need money for it.
Yep, pay me.
If Bama's going to do this to me again, I might as well get some American currency for it. But I feel like that now all of a sudden their path is open because I think they can beat Indiana. I think the way that game is lined, the bookmaker.
I already grabbed the 7.
Yeah,
I already grabbed the 7.
They expect this one to be a close game, and I can absolutely see that. The irony of watching that game, and Oklahoma all wearing their hard to kill shirts when they were very easy to kill for Alabama, and Alabama actually turns out to be the ones that are hard to kill. That was pretty delicious, I thought, and there's the graphic that we tweeted out from our CFB Tailgate Twitter account is just that just rude graphic from ESPN. The OU is the only team to blow a 17-point lead in the college football playoff, and they've done it 2 times. They are 0-5 in the CFP. Just, man, if you're the Sooners, objectively good year for them. I mean, everyone was circling how big of a gauntlet they had coming into the year. They had a win total of just 8.5 just because they thought the sheer attrition of playing that schedule is going to end up being too much for them to get to even 9 wins. They host a playoff game, but once Mateer threw that pick 6, you just can't make that's still a thing against Alabama. You cannot make those killer mistakes. They are going to make you pay for it every time. The momentum's going to swing. You're going to get tight, and then Alabama's going to keep doing their thing, and that's how you get the result that we saw on Friday night. And we even saw one of the best parts of OU's team this year, the kicker, out of nowhere. He completely tenses up and he's missing field goals left and right. I mean, I think 2 in the fourth quarter alone on Friday night. So obviously those 6 points weren't going to get them all the way there, but certainly would have helped. But OU's offense, as we were kind of concerned about going into the CFP, clunky. At least like with Bama, it's one note, but it's a very good note. OU doesn't really have any like one sort of like game changing facet to its offense, and I was playing around with the idea of Mateer being healthy, like the healthiest that he's been. Maybe that's going to help things, but I think that was a bit of a referendum on who Mateer really is as a quarterback. A lot of I think his believers are banking on stuff that was happening at Washington State. Doesn't really happen in the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma's offense, they just leave such little room for error with their defense, where if the defense does have like a slightly off night and they don't look elite, like it's gonna be tough for them, and especially if the offense is turning the ball over and they're giving the other team points like they did Friday night. We kind of said it a little over a month ago and I feel like we kind of hit the nail on the head with this one, where whenever this story for this season ended with Oklahoma, it was going to look ugly, and it looked ugly Friday night. Like, I didn't think it would be blowing a 17-point lead in a playoff game ugly, because if you told me Friday afternoon Oklahoma's going to be up 17-0 in this game, I'd be like, okay, so the Sooners are moving on to the Rose Bowl. I would never have thought that Alabama, especially a one-trick pony Alabama, would be able to come back and win that game, but they did. So hats off to the Tide as they are able to move on. One other note, though, with Alabama, like, I don't think that they're like this awoken giant that now they're going to like steamroll their way, but I do think that's a springboard type win where they definitely got momentum on their side going into the Rose Bowl against Indiana in a few weeks.
They absolutely do, and I'm going to be fascinated to see how Indiana looks under the bright lights. I mean, the Rose Bowl is where number 1 seed Oregon met its maker last year.
Right.
Again, like we were talking about going into this past weekend, like, what's it going to look like for these teams that are off this weekend? Because last year, I think all the teams that had the first round bye ended up losing last year. A little bit different situation this year, but I am, Alabama getting a win like that and getting like that playoff win under their belt already. I'm worried. I'm a little bit worried if I'm Indiana. Like, I definitely was pulling for Oklahoma on Friday night if I'm a Hoosier guy.
Yeah, I would say so. And then one other note, too, on Oklahoma. Their offense really does have that, like, one, like, factor that we've seen during this winning streak with them. It was when Sategna would hit the big play, right? Mm-hmm. Alabama did a tremendous job taking him out of the game. 2 catches, 17 yards on 10 targets. And, like, that's something that I was screaming for LSU to do at the end of the regular season. But just no one could seem to figure that out, as that kid made a bunch of big plays down the stretch there to get Oklahoma in this position. But he kind of gets taken out of the game. Other receivers not doing a ton there for Mateer, and like, Mateer's mechanics just looked horrible. Like, I've never seen a quarterback like use his entire body to like launch into throws there like he was doing. Like, it was kind of bizarre. I was not expecting that out of him on Friday night.
No, really tough game from him. I think that he's a good college quarterback, but I don't think that there's like Sunday potential with him so much. But I guess he gets another year of eligibility. That Oklahoma can obviously be a place that can bring in some talent in the portal. One thing that we like haven't really talked about since September, they made the big play for Jaden Ott.
Yeah.
Like milk carton for him. He was so good at Cal for a couple of years. Obviously didn't have a great year last year, but would have expected at least a little something there. But I'm sure that's not going to dissuade Oklahoma from bagging up and getting some more talent through the portal this offseason, because it's very obvious to me that they need a redo of their playmakers, both in the backfield and outside of Sategna.
Yeah, I agree. Agree completely. Let's move on here. Let's talk about this Miami-Texas A&M game. Miami wins this one 10-3 on the road. We talked about how quarterback mistakes were going to tell the story of this one, and I think it did, because, Marcel Reed made 3 mistakes, turned the ball over 3 times in this one. Carson Beck did not. He played a clean game. He had the 1 fumble, but Miami recovers it. The Aggies drove the ball into Miami territory, John, 6 times in this one and came away with just 3 points. They missed a field goal, 2 turnovers in Miami territory from Marcel Reed, including that game-sealing interception. And then on the other side, my guy Ruben Bain, man, Holy crap. What an absolute menace this dude was. I got to make sure I pull up his stats here just to have them right. Like, he was all over the place. The best player on the field. 3 sacks, 4 tackles for a loss, and a blocked field goal in this game. Short arms be damned. The dude was talking his talk after the game and before the game just so politely, where it's like, that guy is a menace, and he was the best player on the field on Saturday in my eyes.
Yep, we did circle that quote on Thursday. Like, oh man, he's just saying like bless their hearts. That feels like this dude's gonna do
Stone
some
cold.
crazy stuff on Saturday. But I'm gonna hand up for us on this one. We talked about penalties being a big factor in this one. The refs kind of let him play, but as far as like things we maybe should have seen a little bit more. There's field goal operations for both of these teams. Heavens to Betsy. I mean,
yeah.
I just went ahead and looked it up. A&M was like 121st in a field goal percentage this year. Miami just at 74, and they didn't kick a ton of field goals, just 21 attempts. That includes Saturday, so under 20 during the regular season. So, yeah, rinky-dink operations for both special teams. I thought that both teams played extremely tight, like basically the whole game. They were just trying to not screw up. Marcel Reed was worse at doing that, of course, than Carson Beck was. But just it very much felt like this was obviously the first time that either of these teams had been in a spot like this, and it really showed. I mean, I think that it wasn't so much that the defense is like completely dominating. It was like the offense is just being really kind of out of sorts throughout the course of the game. Concepcion got kind of removed from the equation in this one, just 4 for 33 from him. Mario Craver actually had a pretty decent day relative to his recent performances, but even Malachi Tony, you had 5 catches, great, 22 yards. The A&M did a really good job of limiting the explosives that had been a big problem for them, but the weird kind of other side of that neither of us really saw coming, at least I don't think, was the Miami run game. I mean, Fletcher, I think on that last drive had like 80 yards or something on one drive. He had 174
awesome
for the game. Like he was everything that they could have possibly hoped for in that game. And I thought that Pringle had been running a lot better than Fletcher had down the stretch, but Fletcher really showed out when it was needed. Man, yeah, Beck 14 for 20 for 103 yards is an awesome stat line for him, and getting credited, wink wink, for that touchdown pass is hilarious as well. But ultimately, I have a lot of questions about like Miami and like their ability to win these close games, because they have had these coaching gaffes and blunders before, but they weren't the ones that made the mistakes in this spot. They got it done. They got the score when they needed to. They made it really sweaty there at the end, but they got that pick. Game over. You're advancing, but they're going to have to play a completely different game if they want to keep it even remotely close against Ohio State.
Yeah, I agree with you. But at the same time, though, too, if I'm a Miami fan, I'm feeling really good about my defense with how they played at College Station there. 7 sacks for the team. 3 forced turnovers, as we mentioned, all from the quarterback. They held A&M to under 3 yards per carry, 2.5 yards per carry for the Aggies in this one. Ruben Bain, best player on the field, as we were hinting at. He's going to need to do that again in the Cotton Bowl on New Year's Eve against Ohio State. And we've seen Julian Sayin, especially on these early drives, these first drives specifically, where if you can get a little pressure on him right away, he's going to throw a duck up in the air. And maybe Miami can turn that into points there for them. They're going to need that. They're going to need all the help they can get and all the turnovers they can get to play Ohio when they're playing Ohio State. Because as you were talking about A&M playing very tight, I don't think Ohio State's going to be very tight in that Cotton Bowl. They've been there, done that, obviously, here, and they're going to be looking to bounce back from their loss in the Big Ten championship game. Yep. Interesting note, too, with the Buckeyes, which we can talk about in a few minutes. Brett McMurphy reporting this morning that Ryan Day is taking over play calling duties for the Buckeyes here going forward. Brian Hartline is done. Obviously, he's the head coach at USF now, but after what we saw in that Big Ten championship game, Ryan Day is taking over there too, so just another little extra wrinkle there. But yeah, the Miami-Ohio State, I think that's a 10-point line right now. That's going to be an interesting one on New Year's Eve in the Cotton Bowl. But overall, if I'm a Miami fan, I'm feeling pretty good about where the program is going forward there. And then one little side note, me personally as a Notre Dame fan, that game made me so freaking mad. like so freaking mad. I'm like, are you kidding? Like, really? Like, these two teams, like this is we dug our own grave in September losing to these two outfits because, well, Notre Dame couldn't handle a field goal opportunity for a PAT, Tyler Buckner, unable to handle that snap. And then the Miami game, too, was just a first half disaster for Notre Dame. Really frustrating for Irish fans out there, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I definitely believe that. I mean, when that matchup was said, it almost felt rude. And then the way the game plays out, it's like, are you kidding me? And then you add the extra gravity of the following two games and who's playing in those. It's like I feel like Notre Dame probably could have done better than that. And then my last thing from this game, I do like it when Miami kind of has a little bit of its swagger back. Like back in 2017, it felt like things were going well for them until
turnover chain.
Yeah, until you guys smoked them. Or no, wait, never mind.
No, they got us.
Different time. Then they lost to Pitt. But sorry, crossed up. But Michael Irvin just kills me. Michael Irvin is the best. I wish Georgia had an alum as just completely out there as Irvin, who's just on all fours going nuts. He had several BTA celebrations during the season,
with the trash can,
whipping the wall, whipping the trash can, readjusting the jersey, and then whipping it again. That guy rules, man. So I had to get that out there for everybody.
Have you ever had a game that you're watching that you literally had to get on all fours to watch because you're just so invested in it? Have you ever had that moment watching a game?
I do embarrassing stuff during games, and I certainly have before. Usually, I'm a rip the shirt off guy. Sometimes,
right?
It's happened, but both good and bad. I don't think I've done the Michael Irvin 4-point stance before. I don't think I've done that. I
have once. One game, Super Bowl 51, second half comeback, 28-3. I was down on the ground. Pats score. I had to stay there. I can't move. I'm literally in the crouch position as James White's running in to score the winning touchdown for the Patriots there. But yeah, that's the only game that's ever physically brought me to my hands and knees as just full on invested in it like that. But yeah,
I love it. I actually met James White at a bar in Madison a couple weeks after that. He was riding high.
Oh hell yeah. Yeah, I've talked to him a few times on different shows. He is awesome. I think he's coaching now too, somewhere. But he is just great dude. Great dude. Oh, yeah. That is for sure. All right, let's talk about these two blowouts quick here. We don't have to spend too much time on these. Ole Miss 41, Tulane 10. No lane, no problem. Ole Miss pretty much looked exactly like they did all season under Pete Golding. 497 yards of offense. I do want to pull up a quick note here. Bill Connolly writes in his recap article, Ole Miss gained 135 yards in their first 7 snaps and got out to a 14-0 lead. Tulane held up for the rest of the first half, trailing 17-3 at halftime, had a chance to get back into the game to start the second half. Instead, the Green Wave punted, turned the ball over on downs, and lost 2 fumbles, both by Jake Retzlaff, who had a really rough day, even though he did kind of stat pad a little bit there. Yeah. Tulane was just clearly outmatched, and I do think that they moved the ball pretty well in the first half. They just couldn't capitalize on anything. Ole Miss toughened up and tightened up when they need to. And, it just two clearly just different class operations going on there.
Yeah. If I'm Ole Miss, I'm pumped that I won in a stress-free game, but, does that get you any more ready for the quarterfinal? I don't know. That's my only sort of, if I'm looking for something to be slightly miffed about, if I'm an Ole Miss fan, it's just that was almost too easy. And, Oregon is probably going to be feeling the same way going, just the sheer whiplash of playing against Georgia right after playing against Tulane is going to be interesting. But, as far as Ole Miss goes, took care of business. Trinidad Chambliss was surgical when he was out there, almost 10 yards per attempt. He's running well, punched in a couple scores. Ole Miss has... They don't have a Trey Harris, from last year, but they've got like 5, 6 guys that can really kind of sting you in different ways. Like Deuce Alexander stepped up. Dazon Stribling it has been like really, really good down the stretch. He was huge against Miss State. Let's see. Trey Wallace, he was kind of invisible in this game, but he was their leading receiver this year. Caden Lee is also a big playmaker, and I love their tight end, Daquan Wright, as well. So, I mean, they have the ammo offensively, I think, to move the ball once again on Georgia. But don't want to spend all my notes on that game just yet. But yeah, nice easy win there for the Rebs in front of the home fans, and you feel a little sense of relief on what the operation looks like under Pete Golding.
Yeah, I think that's my big takeaway, right? If I'm an Ole Miss fan, I'm looking at that like this wouldn't have looked any better, right, under Lane, right? And like we still look like the same team. So in that sense, like I feel pretty good. And you can definitely tell that Golding has an effect on those players and that they're really rallying around him. And that would make me feel good if I'm a Rebels fan going forward there as they get ready to take on Georgia in the Sugar Bowl on New Year's night. But that's really all I got from that game too. Just like okay, sigh of relief. Like looked
Golding
pretty good.
just seems like a cool. Just like a cool Southern frat guy. Like he's just like some
yeah, he's got that vibe.
Like a 5th-year KA who's just like he's taken 2 classes. He's still hanging around. Can without even looking like he can just like beat you in beer pong in like three turns type of thing. He's cool.
Yeah, I like it. I like what they got going on. That's going to be an interesting game. We'll talk about that one a little bit more coming up. And then finally, Oregon 51, James Madison 34. The Dukes with the backdoor cover. I am still angry about it, if you can't tell, as we laid 21 there as the show on a show play. But this game was over in the second quarter, John. Oregon, 5 drives, 5 touchdowns. Like, this thing was basically a joke. And Oregon, Evan Stewart goes through all of warm-ups in full pads, and then they put him in street clothes last minute. So I think he's going to be ready to go against Texas Tech. Bryant, same thing, and then 1 catch for Daquan for Moore there as well. Like, you didn't even see Oregon's best weapons in this game, and they still put up over 50 points. Like I said in the opening, they could have put up 80 if they wanted to. They just kind of took their foot off the gas there at the end. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about Oregon right now going forward. I can't wait for that game against Texas Tech.
So I wasn't sure if how Oregon would approach it because they were going to be able to win one way or the other, but I felt like they really kind of let Dante Moore, especially in the early going, like really sling it. And man, I mean they found some wide open looks that will be harder to come by, of course, against Texas Tech, everything like that, but I think that was a nice game for Dante Moore's confidence, like playing loose. Like, yes, he threw the 2 interceptions, but also like landing those deep shots, feeling good about that going into your next game. I think that was big for him. The ground game, like they got 200 yards and they did it really efficiently as well. So I mean, there's that's good because I did think that James Madison's run defense was going to be like that one potential fly in the ointment, something that might be a little bit difficult for Oregon to navigate over the course of this game. But that didn't end up being the case. So yeah, you got to just feel great if you're an Oregon fan, crappy if you are an Oregon spread. Yeah, that was again brutal stuff there. But overall, Oregon looking like they're rolling a little bit here as they get into that next game.
Yeah, I was glad to see that too because I don't know about you, but like part of me still had that like Rose Bowl last year, like in my mind, like okay, how dialed in is Dan Lanning going to have this team ready to go this week? And they were ready to go. 5 drives, 5 touchdowns, did exactly what they were supposed to do to open this game when they were fully engaged against a far inferior opponent. And you could just tell the quality of athlete was just on full display there, all due respect to JMU and what they got going on there in that program. But just like you could just see like the talent composites like on full display between those two schools there. So Oregon moves on as well, taking on Texas Tech. We got 4 great quarterfinal matchups. I am pumped for these. We will break these games down in full next week. I thought we'd just kind of give some like initial early thoughts here. We're still a little over a week away. I'll just rattle them off here for you, John. We got Ohio State is a 10-point favorite over Miami in the Cotton Bowl. That's New Year's Eve. Oregon favored by 1.5 against Texas Tech in the Orange Bowl. That's at noon on New Year's Day. Indiana favored by a touchdown, 7 points. I think it's actually dropped down to 6.5 on a few spots here right now against Alabama in the Rose Bowl. And then Georgia is a 7-point favorite in the Sugar Bowl to cap things off with our last quarterfinal matchup.
So I do think I'll go in order here. I think Ohio State dusts Miami. I do. I think that they are probably the best team in the country, if not the second best team. And Miami, for what they showed on Saturday, like that offense is going to need to look a lot different. I think for them to have a shot against Ohio State, I think we're going to go head-to-head on this one. I like the Red Raiders to advance in this one, but that's going to be a fantastic game. Cannot wait for that one. Again, I always get accused, and I admit it, of having Alabama psychosis, but I think Alabama can win that game against Indiana. Kind of hope I'm wrong, but I can certainly see it. And then I think Georgia will beat Ole Miss and cover that spread, but the defense is going to have to look a lot more like it did against Alabama in the SEC championship game than it did against Ole Miss in that first round, where really Ole Miss was moving the ball on them at will through the first 3 quarters.
Yeah, I don't. So I'm looking at that Cotton Bowl game. I don't know. The only reason I'm thinking that Miami might be able to hang around is maybe this Miami defense has taken a next step forward here, and that pass rush can get to Sayin, where it's kind of the same thing. I want to see Julian Sayin come out slinging, and really have a big time game here. Because I do think Miami's going to be able to bottle up that Ohio State run game a bit. And I do think this game's going to fall on Sayin's shoulders. But on the other side, though, too, it's going to come down to Carson Beck playing a clean game, which he has been doing for well over a month now. But now this is another step up here from what we just saw against Texas A&M. Now you're going against the best defense in the country. So I want to see what that looks like. Beck's going to have a monster game for Miami to win this thing. I feel like
they can't run the ball in Ohio State the way that they did against A&M. I didn't think they could run the ball at all. So maybe I'm just going to be wrong on this generally. But yeah, you're not going to win with Carson Beck throwing for 100 yards. Yeah,
I completely agree with you there. I like Oregon. I think they're starting to click here, and I want to see what Texas Tech looks like after this long layoff. That game. That feels like that game's going to just be weird. I don't know. Thursday at noon, in Miami, I feel like that game's going to be the weirdest one of the 4, and I can't wait for it. It's the one I'm looking forward to the most out of all 4 of these games, just because I just love the matchup. It's just such a weird matchup, but I think it's going to be great. Rose Bowl, I agree with you. I think Alabama is absolutely live to win this game, and Coach Sig is probably hearing a lot of that, I'm sure. He's going to have Indiana ready to go, but maybe those injuries kind of start to pile up there, especially on the defensive front there, where Alabama's getting healthier too. Overton should be back for that game. Ty Simpson maybe getting a little more confident as well. Ryan Williams, going to need to see you in that one as well there too. Brooks was awesome and all those guys, but I do think Alabama's live. And then finally, I think Georgia would be my most confident pick of the week. I do think they're going to be able to take care of business. I just love the way the Dogs' pass rush has been playing. I think they're going to be able to keep Chambliss in check. And like we saw, a month and a half ago or whatever, until Ole Miss stops Georgia, I can't take them. I need Georgia should be able to put up points at will just about in this game with how things are going. So.
Yeah, I think it'll be big having Chauncey Bowens closer to full health. I don't know if they'll have the receiver, Colby Young, ready to go for that one or not. But, running the ball with Frazier and with Bowens takes the pressure off of Stockton a little bit. And then, if he's get some more open looks, Noah Thomas has emerged. Those tight ends were great against Ole Miss in the opener. So I feel like Georgia should win that game. Ole Miss definitely a live wire with how good that offense is. But I still like the Dogs there. As well as far as looking at these things from a spread perspective.
So we will have a full quarterfinal round 2 breakdown for you guys next week. This is our only show this week with Christmas and all that kind of stuff. But John, 4-3 last week, first round bets. Unfortunately, that JMU one swung us there with Oregon unable to finish the job and cover in that game. But do you have any Christmas week bets for the people that you want to get off your chest here and throw on the card?
I'm still on UNLV to cover against Ohio. And
You got some nice CLV there too. That lines up to 6.5. So we got it at 4.5 last week.
I like that. I definitely need to have a game or a pick in the disappointment bowl between Penn State and Clemson. I think I'm going to go Penn State there.
+3?
+3. Yep, give me the points there. Give me UConn, whatever that's lined at right now.
I think you're getting 8.5 at this point.
Yeah.
UConn might be down to their 4th string quarterback.
Oh well, if there's no Joe Fagnano, then maybe erase that one. See if you can cash that one out. That's my fault. Sorry.
All good.
These bowl games, Yeah, Pribula's transferring again from Mizzou. Sorry, this is terrible audio. So I'm just gonna cut it off there and just give me UNLV and give me Penn State.
All right, so John's given us UNLV -4.5. That has since moved. He's also given us Penn State +3. For me, John, I like where you were going with Mizzou there. I think Zollers can get the job done in this game against Virginia. So give me the Tigers -4. Let's go Georgia Tech +4.5. I mean, how can you not be romantic about college football? Haynes King's swan song in the Pop-Tart Bowl? Like, does it get better than that?
Sprinkles falling from the sky.
Like, I can see Haynes King putting that Pop-Tart in the toaster. I can see it. I am willing it. Give me Georgia Tech +4.5 against BYU. I'm going to take Central Michigan +10.5 against Northwestern. I'm not sure Northwestern should be favored by double digits against anybody. The Chippewas can be live here too. They can be a little frisky. So give me them +10.5. Look, kids, when you're watching this, Santa cannot come and deliver presents until you bet on Hawaii in the Hawaii Bowl. That is just, those are the rules. Those are the rules of Christmas. That's how it works. I'm sorry, I don't make them, but that is the rules. So let's go Hawaii on the money line on Christmas Eve, taking on Cal in the Hawaii Bowl. And then finally, let's go Fresno State -5, playing Miami of Ohio, who I think is going to be without their leading receiver, leading rusher, leading tackler, and I think maybe their quarterback too. So let's go Fresno State -5 in that game on Saturday. That's what I got for this week.
Okay, the Farm Dogs. I can dig it, and we'd be remiss if we didn't say it, but you were right to keep the faith on our show team, the Western Michigan Broncos.
Yes.
Boy, howdy. They look like they were playing a different sport than the poor Kennesaw State Owls. I mean,
right?
golly.
You want to talk about reclassifying? My goodness, that was. I don't even know what the final was in that game, but it was like 34-0. I just looked and I was just like, oh. John, my man, like, this is what you get. This is your punishment for even like suggesting to fade our Broncos.
That was poor process. I got swept up. I loved the Kennesaw State Conference USA championship game, and I think Western kind of let me down from a DFS perspective in the MAC championship game. So I was like a little bit salty at them, but lesson learned for sure.
Very good. We'll carry that into next season for sure. But anyways, I think that's going to do it for us, guys. Merry Christmas. Thank you very much for watching or listening. Hit that subscribe or that follow button. For John, I'm Dan. We'll talk to you guys next week and break down these quarterfinal games.